How does it feel to have someone you trusted with your life ruin everything? Camron, Jim Jones's day one brother, struck the ultimate blow when Jim Jones was sentenced to prison tonight. The worst aspect, though, is that Camron's own family recently revealed startling information about Chrissy's secrets, which is heartbreaking and a horrible turn of events that nobody anticipated. Chrissy was seen crying as her entire world fell apart in front of her, while the cameras rolled and the streets carried on talking. Was this merely vengeance, or was it justice? We tore open the facts they tried to hide tonight, revealing deep rivalries, secret betrayals, and a scandal so frank that Harlem is on the edge of blowing up. You'll understand why once you hear what transpired, so pay attention. The way you view loyalty behind those closed walls will never be the same. Events in history might occasionally take an unexpected turn, leaving no two things the same. Is among the instances in which Jim Jones, a once untouchable power in the game, was convicted and sentenced to prison. You read properly, yes. The shocking news arrived just when Camron, yes, the same Camron who is renowned for his sharp tongue and quick wit, has now been attacked, as if the drama in the courtroom wasn't enough. Even the strongest of us had to pause and reflect after he exposed Chrissy's darkest secrets, which is the worst part. Everyone believed that the dust had settled by this time, but then someone dropped a bombshell that none of us anticipated. Indeed, what goes on behind the scenes of their public image? Isn't the tension in the air already apparent to you? Camron finds himself enmeshed in a maelstrom of turmoil after Jim Jones is imprisoned and his empire is in shambles. There's more, though. What if I told you that a few secrets aren't the end of the drama? Oh, trust me, it becomes more twisted and dark. Let's dissect it. The hip-hop legacy of Jim Jones, his function as his demise, was a slow burn that took years to develop, and that no one could put out. For some time now, there have been increasing industry rumors concerning his connections, questionable activities, and questionable individuals he has been spending time with. No one could have foreseen that it would reach this stage. In relation to links, let's discuss Camron's situation when Cam revealed first. Let's talk about Jim Jones. He was always a brand and a symbol, not merely a rapper. Beneath that polished surface, though, it's simple to lose sight of the actual events and become engrossed in the music. We believed that everyone's game was done, Chrissy. What actually transpired, though, was who was in control and what Chrissy had to lose that would have caused her to act in such a manner. Was it always going to blow up in their faces? Or could this whole thing have been prevented? Because we often don't know how much these popular figures have on their plates. Now, the allegations of corruption, dubious activities, and treachery are facts rather than hearsay, and it is because of these realities that Jim Jones is presently behind bars. Information that connects Jim to illegal acts that go beyond the purview of any rap career has been revealed by sources close to the investigation. Please understand that this is not some wild conspiracy idea. There is unquestionable proof, witness, accounts, and records that connect Jim to unlawful activity that was allowed to continue unchecked for an excessive amount of time. But here's where it gets interesting. The woman at the heart of this controversy is Chrissy Lampkin. If you assumed it was only about Jim, you should reconsider. The true tale is found in Without Hesitation. Camron stepped into the flames to expose Chrissy's true identity. However, was his devotion to his buddy and the truth worth it? The extent to which Chrissy would go to safeguard the secret she has been keeping for years, her involvement, and her ties to the criminal underworld. What occurs if someone's secrets are made public? What was once private becomes public as the facade collapses. The entire scene is a jumble of power struggles, betrayals, and questionable decisions. Jim's demise was not just his own. It was a reflection of people in his immediate vicinity who enabled him to gain notoriety and are now seeing him fall apart in real time. However, Chrissy is in the middle of everything, holding the we'll dig more deeply into what went wrong, how the players got involved, and why this whole scenario is going to grow uglier as the narrative goes on. But before we do, let's pause to consider the seriousness of what we're seeing. She has skeletons in her closet that might kill more than Jim. Camron is left in the midst, fighting his own issues while attempting to make his way through a world of secrets and treachery. We are delving deeper into the labyrinth of lies, betrayals, and secrets that have been meticulously concealed from the public as we continue to uncover the layers of this startling scandal. It is a betrayal, power, and survival game with enormous stakes, and every one of these participants is going to have to deal with the fallout. So, how did Jim Jones's life fall apart? What nefarious secrets does Chrissy conceal? Why did Camron put himself in danger to reveal the truth? The consequences of Camron's shocking disclosures are only now beginning to materialize, and believe me when I say that what he disclosed is not merely dramatic. Rather, it is the kind of truth that upends the entire world. Everyone is familiar with Chrissy Lampkin, Jim's constant pillar of support and devotion. But what if I told you that all loyalty really is? The reality is that Chrissy has been keeping some sinister secrets that might fundamentally change how we perceive her relationship with Jim Jones if they were made public. As you can see, Jim's arrest had more to do with what Chrissy was trying to safeguard than it did with him. She has been the gatekeeper for years, keeping a tight grip on the business Jim established to protect their reputation. Over time, more information about Chrissy's role in these nefarious acts has emerged, and what we found is quite shocking. Although Chrissy was always Jim's loyal companion and encouraging fiancé in public, she was a different person behind closed doors, one who was prepared to. One of the most significant findings from Camron's exposé was Chrissy's purported participation in several years' worth of illegal financial activities. Camron revealed everything about these activities in his usual unrestrained manner. Money was being moved in and out of the nation through offshore accounts and dubious individuals, including transactions with even while Jim was the public face of his criminal business. Multiple anonymous sources claim that Chrissy was a co-conspirator in many of these dubious activities, rather than only a bystander or someone who supported Herman. According to some insiders, Chrissy was actually the driving force behind Hoises. This is where it becomes even more twisted, with underworld figures that no one dared to even question. Consider this. Chrissy, the woman we've all seen on reality TV, was secretly influencing events to protect their resources and increase their influence over the game. Her secrets were so deadly that they could ruin her career as well as Jim's. Well, it's more complicated than just the money side of things. Chrissy was involved in several quite dubious situations with dangerous individuals who were acting illegally, behaviors and risks that can endanger her future as well as her life. I know what you're wondering, though. How did Chrissy change from being the woman we all thought was loyal to her partner to someone who may be connected to organized crime? That's the true story here, folks. The more we look into Chrissy's involvement, the more credible sources we come across with reports. Sources claim that in addition to knowing about Jim's actions, Chrissy voluntarily took part in money laundering schemes, assisting in the movement of millions of dollars through fraudulent organizations and genuine companies, while seeming to be the dutiful fiancé for the cameras. This is an excellent illustration of the type of double life that many professionals in the entertainment sector lead, in which popular personalities uphold an impeccable public image. The entire business was rocked when Camron came clean about Chrissy's involvement. Not only was Chrissy the target of his remarks, but the foundation of the enterprise Jim and Chrissy had established was also called into question. But let's not overlook Camron, the one factor that truly jeopardized the entire enterprise. The gloves were removed at that point. But what was Camron's motivation? Why take a chance on everything? To people close to Camron claim that when he chose to expose Chrissy, whom he formerly considered a friend and a close confidant, he wasn't only acting malevolently. Camron was unwilling to allow celebrities like Jim and Chrissy to get away with their lavish lifestyles and believed that the public should be aware of the reality. In the end, it was about exposing the darker side of a world, not just about getting even. That is usually kept hidden from the public. You might be curious about the consequences for Jim, Camron, and Chrissy. Revealing a secret is one thing, but handling the consequences is quite another. The entertainment industry as a whole has been impacted by Camron's disclosures. As the world watches Chrissy's world collapse around her and her grasp on her empire erode with each new revelation, fans are divided, with some calling for justice and others supporting Jim and Chrissy. Nevertheless, it is undeniable that the reputation of the formerly impenetrable couple has been ruined. The true question, though, is whether Chrissy can go through or if this is the beginning of the end for her. What about Jim? Can he handle the impact from these exposés given his worsening legal problems? Or is he really the true consequences from Camron's catastrophic exposé are beginning to surface, and they're more disgusting than anyone could have predicted. Once a well-known figure in Harlem and beyond, Agent Jim Jones is currently dealing with legal troubles in addition to the total breakdown of everything he created. The shocking charges that Camron made and that were supported by unnamed sources are now in the hands of federal prosecutors. Jim is becoming more and more ensnared in the legal noose. Using Camron's leaks as a guide, prosecutors have already begun a thorough probe into Jim's financial dealings, according to insiders. Former associates are being brought in, grand juries are being assembled, and confidential agreements that were previously negotiated behind closed doors are suddenly being made public in front of federal agents and reporters. Sources close to the case claim that Chrissy's name may be found on several significant financial documents that are presently being reviewed by the federal government and may link her to charges of conspiracy, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. Ironically, Chrissy's attempts to protect Jim over the years might have ultimately contributed to their demise. Jim is going after Chrissy and everyone else who has any contact with the enterprise. Social media has total authority. Fans argued, if Camron was being nasty, TikTok theorists posted in-depth analyses of the timelines, Instagram blogs went into meltdown mode, and Twitter went viral. All platforms then displayed breaking news alerts, revealing that a full-fledged federal investigation was in progress and that Chrissy was maybe a co-defendant rather than just a ride-or-die fiancé. Meanwhile, the strain is causing Jim Jones to collapse. He is portrayed in court sketches as shattered and hollowed out, not at all like the rebellious rapper who once ruled stages and music charts. He has reportedly been feverishly attempting to reach an agreement that would shorten his prison sentence. But there is a catch. He may have to turn on Chrissy Elf, according to private sources. Links. Not only was the lost money a scandal, but it was the year's biggest scandal. Federal prosecutors are promising Jim a significantly reduced sentence in exchange for testifying against his longtime girlfriend, according to people familiar with the case. There's more to Chrissy than just the Fed's intense desire for her. It's possible that Jim, the man Chrissy has been fighting for all these years, betrayed her in order to protect himself. Not even Hollywood could write a finer script for this. Kind of bitter irony. Now, the Department of Justice and the IRS are intervening to take possession of the opulent residences. Jim and Chrissy have been flaunting their expensive vacations, fancy clothes, and exotic cars on social media for years. Every piece of real estate, every automobile, and every piece of jewelry is being inspected, audited, and sometimes repossessed. It's a complete and utter collapse. And to make matters worse, other famous people are. According to reports, reality TV producers are purging old footage of Jim and Chrissy. Longtime industry friends have abruptly stopped speaking to them. Endorsement. Deals have been canceled, and even Love and Hip Hop executive producer Mona Scott Young is reportedly incensed behind the scenes, desperately trying to figure out how to minimize the association. According to rumors, whether you like him or not, Camron is riding the wave of attention like a pro, standing tall and unapologetic as Jim and Chrissy's world implodes. Every Instagram live that Camron makes seems like a victory lap as he continues to amass thousands of followers. In order to totally reduce Chrissy Lampkin's presence, she is considering re-editing previous reunion programs. Jim Jones and Camron used to be more than just adversaries. They were family, partners, and brothers in arms. We're seeing the demise of a dynasty, not just the ruin of individual careers. Previously believed to be unbreakable, the Dipset heritage is now in ruins. Fans erupt into yet another frenzy once he drops. Camron not only prevailed but also annihilated the opposition in the court of public opinion. Harlem is in sorrow, and Jim and Chrissy are not the only ones affected. Jim was a representation of achievement and resilience in the face of hardship. Despite his flaws, he was a sign of fortitude. That emblem has now been broken, leaving a deep, acrid scar that might never completely heal. Jim might use state evidence against Chrissy's formerly glitzy existence. Thus, her future remains uncertain. Might soon become a harsh, frigid prison cell. There are rumors that Chrissy has already engaged one of the top criminal defense teams in New York, but even the finest lawyers cannot erase evidence or undo years of unethical behavior. The public is also watching everything. The same viewers on national television who formerly cheered Chrissy's romantic proposals are now closely examining each document, interview, and a suspicious money trail that is brutally precise as the final nail in the coffin. Additional associates linked to Jim and Chrissy's business partners former pals, and even some identities that haven't been revealed yet, but are supposedly heavily implicated in the same corruption scam are being revealed via anonymous leaks. Put differently, this isn't merely a tale about two individuals losing their favor. It's about a house of cards falling apart and pulling everyone with it into the debris. Since loyalty is only another name for collateral damage in this game, the key question remains whether Jim and Chrissy will face the repercussions together or turn against one another in a desperate attempt to survive. With Chrissy Lampkin looking down and Jim Jones facing the jail walls, the empire collapsed in a moment. The true question is if it was worth abandoning everything they had worked so hard to achieve in order to pursue the money, celebrity, and fake loyalty. Who is actually at fault here? The Dipset fantasy was always bound to fall apart under the weight of its own secrets. Camron, Jim, Chrissy, and Harlem itself. From the front row, Camron watched with the sneer of a guy who knew this day would arrive as she was deceived by the man she had once vowed was everything to her. Should Chrissy be held responsible if the accusations are accurate? And was Camron a hero for revealing the facts? Or just a snake with a larger scheme if you think Jim Jones deserves a second shot after all the scandals? Kindly leave a comment with your ideas. Don't be shy, I'm reading everything. If you think this was a mess, believe me, the next step is more strange disclosures, betrayals, and collapses are about to rattle the sector. To make sure you never miss the real stories they don't want you to hear, click the like button, subscribe, and enable your alerts if you haven't already. Since we don't just consume the We Spilled Everything, remain locked.